Anna and Maria Wirbowska congratulate themselves for that bronze medal, while we go to the start list for the next race, the men's pair. And you can see there, two French crews, a very strong presence, and probably in lane 4, Vasic and Bednik, the Serbians. They will be the main opposition to the French, we expect.
So here we see the coxless pair, 2 rowers, 1 oar each. The New Zealanders obviously have dominated this race, setting the world best time for about the last 2 Olympiads entirely. Now they've left the event, and we're waiting to see who's going to step in and pick it up.
So in lane 1, we see France 2, Thibaut and Guillaume Tuelan, twins, under 23 rowers from Grenoble and Vichy respectively. There's the Czech pair, Jakub Podrazil and Lukas Helešits. Czechs finished 4th in the Europeans. So in the centre lane, this is the quickest French boat, Valentin and Théophile Onfray. Closest to you, Théophile from Verdun, as is Valentin, his brother, behind him. Théophile with the white cap, and rode really well, I thought, in the heats. So that's the Dutch pair, I think.
Serbian pair.
Or the Serbian pair.
Oh, that looks like the Dutch pair.
It's
You're
the
right,
Dutch pair,
there is the Dutch pair.
We should be looking at Serbians in lane 4. So that's the Dutch pair. Closest to you, Bo Vullings. Behind him, Dirk Bogard. We missed out the Serbians.
They're looking very wobbly, aren't they? That
you can
Dutch
see
pair.
them there, yeah. Nedeg Bednik at stroke, Milos Vasic in the bow. And the Turkish pair on this near side, Onat Kazakli and Besim Zahengul in the bow seat.
Yeah, and smooth starts, and yeah, I think we're going to look for the 2 crews in the middle of the course here. The Serbians, of course, raced at the Rio Olympics, finished in 10th place, and the France 1 pair of brothers, the Onfray brothers, who were 11th in Rio, but they were rowing in the coxless 4 at that time.
Yeah, there's a shot of the Serbians, Neneg Bednik, the 28-year-old stroke from Belgrade. Behind him, Milos Vasic. Really fast pair. They've got a lot of flexibility at both ends of the race, and took a silver medal in the World Cup in Belgrade. First World Cup of the season behind the British, and then a bronze medal in the Europeans behind the Italians and French.
Yeah, disappointingly, the Italians aren't here either, so we'll be missing out on them. But looking forward to seeing how this run shapes up over the course of the season. And on the course of today, yeah, just good to see this Dutch pair after that slightly wobbly start. Made a good move in lane 5 and settled into a pretty strong pace.
Yeah, it's the Italian National Championships this weekend. That's why the Italian crews aren't here. You can see the stroke man in the Dutch pair with his cap back, Bo Vullings. He was in that 8 that beat the British at World Cup 1, the Neerhouse 8. He raced in the crew at Henley as well, which was disqualified, Greg. And he's there with Dirk Bogard, his partner from the Dutch 8, who took bronze in the Olympics behind Britain and Germany. And, well, it's a head-to-head, isn't it, in the first quarter of the race.
Yeah, it's really interesting the way that Dutch crew have just slipped into a really nice rhythm. You can see they raced out really hard, and then there was a perceptible change where it looked like they just rode that little bit longer, that little bit more relaxed, and settled into this pace, which I think they should be able to keep going now. And that's the Serbian pair showing strongly and going with them, and looking good there.
So just a check rather than the Serbian pair. It's actually the Dutch pair going head-to-head with the Onfray brothers, Valentin and Théophile. They do have quite a distinct style of rowing, good stretch out from the body off the back, and you can see Théophile Onfray, the 24-year-old, the older of the 2 brothers, in the stroke seat. He really does take patience around the back turn and then just lets his hand come away. It's quite distinctive, that stretch over, Greg.
Yeah, it is, but it's interesting looking at the Valentin Onfray in the bow seat of that boat number 3. Really not opening his shoulders up that much. His body, for me, doesn't really come past the vertical, hardly. He just kind of holds his back strong, finishes it off and gets on to the next one.
So what you'd like to see is a little more oomph at the finish from Valentin.
Yeah, perhaps just a little bit more opening up of the shoulders. It looks like we can see him still at 38 strokes a minute. You wonder if they could just squeeze a little bit more out of every stroke.
So in the foreground, Bo Vullings, the man with the white cap, jauntily placed back on his head. Behind him, the Olympic bronze medalist from Rio in the men's eights. Bogard, very different to row in the men's pairs to the men's eights, isn't it, Greg?
Yeah, it certainly is. But I think all rowers like to get into a pair because you feel like it can really affect what's going on. And I do like the way this crew from the Netherlands is rowing and is taking control of the race and just easing their way along in that really nice looking rhythm as we have a look here at this Turkish pair. Had a great race yesterday with the other French pair to make it through the repechage, and they had to be flat out to get through that one. Yeah,
that's Sanguli, Besim Sanguli. He's on the right of your screen, and on the left, Onet Kazakli. They raced here at the World Cup last year in the Cox pair, which is an Olympic event, and got a silver medal, I think, behind the Americans. They're not quite on the pace here, but they've got an overlap on Vasic and Bednik, the Serbians. You can see there, well, Serbia in 1, 2, 3, the fourth position. We did expect to see more of them. They had a very quick second quarter in the heats.
Yeah, and I think we should also keep an eye on the Czech pair as well in lane 2. These two rode together, came 7th at the Rio Olympics, picked up a bronze in World Cup 1 and a 4th in the Europeans. They look like they're moving strongly. Yeah,
the Czech, the bows, number 2 of the Czech pair, they're actually coached by the same coach as Milan Dolacek of Ondrej Sinek, the famous Czech sculler. In fact, they're his training partner. If you're wondering why Ondrej Sinek isn't here, that's because he's been invited to the Hollenbeker on the Bosbaan, which I think is happening next week. He prefers that course. He'll be over there just to look over his shoulder. Jacques Potrazil, yeah, you are closing. There's the Onfray brothers in your sight. The Dutch just dropping off the pace, and the Serbians coming through. Last quarter is going to be exciting, Greg.
Yeah, I think we're in for a great last 500 here. That Dutch pair of mine, unless they've got a sprint, I think are going to get rowed down by the Serbian pair moving really strongly through, and the Czech pair coming back as well.
So I haven't quite seen the sprint from the Czechs. I think the Onfray brothers are really efficient in terms of technique. I know you'd like a little bit more finish from them, but that stern of the boat is running fairly flat from the French there in lane 3. France 1. The Dutch a little bit short now. You can see that Dirk Bogard, not perhaps so long as he was early in the race, but the Serbians, they're moving, and the Czechs are coming with them, Greg.
Yeah, the Serbians, look, for me, they look pretty ominous, the way they're moving there. Really, I think, levering the bodies, levering the backs through. But the stroke rates are going up on all the crews there. The French have still, they've been 2 pips above everyone the whole race, and it's working for them.
41 strokes a minute for the French. We can look to our left. There's just about 200 metres to go. The big 2 metres and 2 centimetres stroke of the Serbians, and then Ed Bednik trying to lever his boat through. The Dutch, lane 5, they found an extra wind, but the French are holding on, holding on, holding on.
This is going to be a fantastic finish. Look at this. We've got the Czech crew up to 44 already. The French have been at 42 strokes a minute since 2:50. So we've got a massive sprint finish in front of us here. It's 100 metres to go. It's really tight, but I think the French are looking like they're going to hang on.
Allez France, c'est très bien fait, and the French crew crossed the finish line to take the men's pairs in World Cup 2. The Serbians, and that is a fantastic sprint from the Czechs, 4th place in the Europeans. They got a bronze in Belgrade, the World Cup 1. Now they have a bronze to add to that in World Cup 2. Great result for the Czechs and their new performance director, the Brit Simon Cox. But let's not take anything away from the men from Verdun. TFL Onfray lies back in the boat, the 24-year-old. 2nd place. They did come through in the end, didn't they, Greg?
Yeah, they came through in the end, the Serbian pair there, and we see a little look at the Czech pair. Pretty pleased to have come up and got that bronze medal. I think they did really well because the race looked like it had got away from them in the first 1,000, but they were really strong in that 3rd quarter and then big sprint finish.
So we'll let you know just how quick those times were.
Yes, we have a little look there at that Czech pair getting off the start, keeping the blades buried. And with the Dutch here, just looking at those short, sharp strokes, getting away from the start.
I think they'll get more confidence. They haven't had a lot of time together in the pair, the Dutch. They've got a lot more speed to come. A little deep on the catch there from Bo Vullings in the stroke seat. The Serbians very conservative off. I've seen them really blast out the start for the first K. Didn't do it today.
No, they didn't, did they? And it was interesting, the French in this tailwind conditions, with that just slightly shorter stroke, slightly higher stroke rate, actually really paid off for them today.
Yeah, there you see a shot just coming through, I think, mid-course. the Dutch were just in the lead at that stage of the race. The Onfray brothers bided their time, and well, that's where they hit the front, coming through to about, what, 750, 800 metres to go. The bank sort of gets closer on the side. You can see the coaches following, and here's where we came up to the finish.
And everyone held their form pretty well, considering all those crews were up over 40 strokes a minute for at least a minute coming into the finish line.
So this is going to be relatively the slowest percentage time, I think, of the day relative to world's best, because the world's best 6:08 from the Kiwis is so quickly. So 6:21.19 for the Onfray brothers. Vasic and Bednik just under a length behind. Podrazel and Helisic, a well-deserved bronze medal ahead of the Dutch crew.